Hi everyone, welcome to the second episode of All Things Streaming. Although streaming is a very common word right now, it was not until even further like few years back. So today I have a very special guest with me who has seen the online content ecosystem evolving over the years and who has led the digital acceleration from forefront. He is Pocket SS founder Mr. Ashwin Suresh. Hi Ashwin, welcome.
Hi, Gagi. Thank you for having me. Very glad to be here.
So, Ashwin, first I was just wondering when I interact with many of my friends and colleagues, most of them are followers of Pocket Essays. So you have a very wide millennial followers. But the thing is, many of your fans and followers don't know how to describe Pocket Essays actually. So is it a Facebook page? Is it a channel or what? They are very confused about it. So what will be your message to them? How you like to describe your channel for them?
So there's two answers to this, right? One is that I think the simple answer is they should describe it however they view the company, right? So I know a lot of people are fans of a particular channel, right? They are filter copy fans or dice fans or gobble fans, and for them we are filter copy or we are gobble or we are dice, and sometimes they don't even know that we have multiple channels. So they are consumers of a certain channel, but they don't know the other channel is by us, and that's fine. That's by design. How we describe ourselves internally is we are just, we are an entertainment company, and so we are creating entertainment content across verticals, across platforms, in some cases on social platforms, in some cases on closed subscription platforms like Netflix, for example, and in some cases on our own platform with Loco, right? So um, we just think about ourselves as an entertainment company, and our mission is to solve people's boredom. We will solve their boredom wherever they are, wherever they want to spend their time, preferably on our platform, if not on another platform.
Okay. So I'll go back to where I just when I introduced you. We all know that you have been in the online ecosystem for long. Like when we just knew YouTube web series to be precise. Nothing more than that in India. But now there are all the international players are here, and everyone is looking at India's online ecosystem pie. So with the change of the ecosystem, how has it changed for you? How has your strategy changed over the years?
Um, so two things have happened. One, I'll tell you the kind of the slightly challenging change as well as a very positive change, right? The challenging change is that it has become very difficult to break clutter now, right? What back in the day in 2015, 2016, when, like you said, web series was not a very common term. There were very
Yeah.
few people creating shows on the internet, right? And we were among the first few to do that. There you stood on the strength of your content, right? So if I made a good show and I had a very good writing, very good direction, technical stuff, and the actors were doing a good job, then anyone could become a big celebrity, right? So if you see how, say, Mithila Palkar or Dhruv Sehgal, or these guys became very popular back in 2015, 2016, it was on the back of good content. We didn't have to put some billboard and market and do all of this noise creation, because the content did the speaking, content did the talking. Now that everyone and their mother is creating a web series, people are spending money to market it. You no longer know which ones to watch, which ones not to watch, and it's harder to create that noise. So again, the content has to do the talking, because the content will result in engagement and in people discussing it. But because there's so much marketing spend on top of it, many people will convince you that their shows are successful when they're not, right? So to measure the for us before, to measure like on ground impact of the content was easier, right? You would see it, in the social following of the talent. You would I mean, I remember in the early days when you went to a mall with Dhruv or with Mithila, it would just people would mob them, right? Today I don't think that's true for every actor in a series, because most of the series are not getting consumed that much. So that's it's a bit challenging, because there's a lot of content, there's a lot of clutter, a lot of it is mediocre, and the writing quality is back to where it was before. The reason that the web series that creators like us started moving to the web was because it gave us a chance to do good writing, show push cinematic boundaries in many ways. We had to do it cheap because of the budgetary constraints, but that was a big positive. Now it's like anything and everything flies for the web. People are reusing their old scripts and all of that. They, 10 साल पुरानी film script है, उसको काट काट के 10 episode में डाल दिया. So that stuff is like, obviously it's a bit, it's not as clean and as simple. The positive has been that there is so much more investment in the ecosystem, with the likes of Netflix and Hotstar and Amazon and all these guys coming in. I think that while it gives voice to a lot of rubbish, it'll also give voice to a lot of good content and good creators and good storytellers. So I think we look at that as a very positive change. We look at, we don't feel threatened by Netflix or Amazon or anyone. We look at them as partners, right? For us, it's one more means of reaching the audience. Before it was YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. Now it is YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, but also Netflix, Amazon, Hotstar, and whoever else, right? So I think that's a positive. I think the platforms themselves are new, so they are still figuring out what their strategy is. They're figuring out. I don't think a lot of them have a lot of experience with data, so they're getting, coming to terms with data, how to react to data, how to respond to it, and they're learning more and more about their consumers. I think in a few years' time, you'll find that they'll be very knowledgeable about what their consumers want, and they'll be able to deliver that. Today, I think they're still a little bit confused, so they're greenlighting all kinds of things, and most things are not working. A few platforms have reasonable track record. Most of them, the content doesn't work that much. But I think that's a temporary. That's teething pains.
Okay. Pocket is going beyond the three channels which was earlier there. Like, so you have in the lockdown launched Jambo also, the adult animated channel. So I'm actually very curious about it because I myself a fan of adult animation. I gobbled BoJack Horseman on Netflix all the seasons. So like, what led you to animation, and did you like run any market research or consumer research that it will work in India? And like how it like why did you to like take the decision to launch a channel?
So that's a good question, and I'll again make 2 points. One is the beauty about the model that we have built is that my consumer research oftentimes is just putting the channel out. That is the consumer research. Instead of doing a focus group and instead of asking people if they want animation, we can just put the channel out. It is efficient, cost effective, it is monetizable to create the channel at these costs, to get people to sample it, and then take a call whether it's working or not. That's the first thing. The second thing is, that said, despite that tall claim, we did do a little bit of homework. It's not like we went completely blind. So what we did, what we realized when we were studying consumption trends in India was, especially on YouTube, we saw two categories that were standing out in terms of its growth. I mean, there are a few categories that stand out, but we like two in particular. One was gaming, and the other was animation, but adult animation, like young adult animation. And we realized there that both are very underserved. Now in gaming, YouTube actually has a large ecosystem that they built out in India, so it's quite nice. But we believe that we can build a lot of value for gaming fans and for game streamers on Loco. So we decided to aggressively build that streaming capability on Loco. On animation, we felt that not enough people were serving animation consumers. So either people like you are watching BoJack Horseman and other shows from the West, or a lot of people are watching anime or other forms of animation. Um, and a few people are watching Indian animation because there are a few creators who are creating like that. So we decided, let's focus on that segment and let's create Indian animation. But let's also focus on, the more regional speaking centers. So let's get on to towns where Hindi is a primary language. Let's focus on aesthetics and sensibilities that are more in line with how smaller towns, are. And so the effort was very, concentrated towards that. Now, it also helped when the lockdown happened that animation is not a physically intensive genre. So we don't have to be in physical locations with lots of equipment and so we didn't have a problem with the lockdown for Jambo because we were able to just do more and more content. Ultimately, you need very skilled technicians and creators, and you need computers. So using that, we were able to scale up Jambo. So it was also very opportunistic. So if you notice, I gave you examples of gaming and animation. Both have thrived under the lockdown. gaming has become a very, very, much larger business in the last 4 or 5 months, and animation for us has been a huge growth driver for the same reason.
Since now you're targeting the smaller towns for your new animated content channel, will you do you intend to make in future anything for urban audience, or just do you want to limit it to a certain demographic?
Okay, that's a very good question. I don't think we are cutting out urban audience consumption from Jambo at all. I think, there are enough urban consumers who are consuming content that is also appealing to smaller town audiences. So it's not a mutually exclusive club. That's the first thing. The second thing is that the channel Jambo may cater largely to consumers from smaller towns. That is the design. But we are also at the same time picking up the animation skill set. We are learning how to tell stories in an animated form. We're learning what can work and what cannot work. And through that, we will eventually look to even create very long format series on OTT platforms, right? So tomorrow, it is not inconceivable for us to have a show on a big OTT platform that is an animation show designed for OTT users who are primarily urban, from all the experience we have running Jambo. It may be branded Jambo, it may not be branded Jambo. Those are, I don't know how that will play out over time. But I think you should expect to see, long form animated series from us, even appealing to urban consumers.
Okay. Since you are also talking about gaming, that is in last 4 months the consumption has been massive. So for your game streaming platform, Loco, so it must has I think it must have skyrocketed for the platform as well. So what's been the surge? If you could exactly little bit brief on that.
So I don't think I'm at liberty to share numbers, but for us, what was interesting was when the lockdown happened is when we launched game streaming on Loco. We launched it, I think, the last week of March, which is right as soon as the lockdown happened. We were already preparing to kind of launch that. What was very interesting is that we found not only were there obviously a lot more consumers who had time on their hands and wanted to watch streams, there were a lot more creators. Creators who said people who were casual gamers were spending more time playing games. People who were slightly semi-professional are now trying to get into the professional gaming ecosystem. So we found that working with them, we've done these partnerships now with so many really amazing streamers and amazing gamers, that the content supply has also been very easy to scale up for us over the last 3 months, because there are more and more people willing to do that. So it's been crazy in terms of growth for us, in terms of both the content supply as well as the demand. And I think part of that is also because we've built the technology platform in a manner that makes it's very creator friendly. So it's very easy for a streamer to come in and use. Anyone can use it. The controls we've built in, the features we've built in are extremely compelling, and that's really helped us.
Okay. Just coming back to your main channels and also your entertainment part of content. So you started off with not I would say started off, but your most famous web series was back then Little Things on YouTube.
Hmm.
So then your next seasons came on Netflix, which was also equally popular. How has been the journey for you? And how it was different working with YouTube, working with Netflix. You for YouTube, I think you worked as a separate channel, which was very independent, and you are working for a platform. So how was your creative freedom there? How much you collaborated with Netflix? If you could just tell about that.
Yeah, so look, working with YouTube means basically uploading your content to YouTube, right? So you don't actually we didn't actually work with the YouTube
Right.
team. We just created the content and distributed. So that was very easy because you control everything, right? Barring the actual in-video advertisement, which is the monetization piece, you control pretty much everything. Right? So we love doing that. We find it very easy. We get real audience validation. We know if a show is actually good or not. Lots of data. You understand a lot about people, what they care about. And so, that was obviously very easy. The reason we partnered with Netflix back in 2018 was a few things, right? One was that That season we didn't create with Netflix. We had already shot the season, and Netflix came in as we were working on the edit of that season. And their feedback there, their creative feedback was quite valuable. In fact, in more than one instance, what they gave us in terms of creative feedback really helped enhance some of the episodes in season two. So we quite enjoyed working with them, and we thought that was a nice experience. You know, putting the series on Netflix gave it two things. One is that it created the ability for international audiences to sample it, because while you can do that on YouTube, the algorithm as such doesn't promote the content abroad, and you have to manually really focus on that. But Netflix's local teams in other countries did pick up the content and see it. For example, it did quite well in Turkey, right? So in a few countries, like where you would not have anticipated finding an audience, it found an audience. So that was quite nice. The other thing was that, you know, the while we have been in the YouTube ecosystem and creating shows, you know, for 5 6 years before web series was a buzzword, at the same time the industry executives and the trade didn't watch that content, right? So nobody was really familiar with the best show coming out of, you know, Pocket Aces or out of TVF or out of Scoop Whoop or whatever, right? So the conversations changed once Netflix came on board. Until then, people hadn't, like, people in this industry, like 50 million people had watched Little Things, but in this industry, almost no one had watched it because they weren't watching content on YouTube. They weren't taking that seriously enough, and this helped give it that weight and that gravitas to say, hey, wait, we've guys who've built Bollywood and built TV here are ignoring this, but an international streaming giant is taking notice. Kuch to hoga isme, right? So that validation that came because, I mean, it's very typical of our culture here, right? Is if somebody from outside validates something internally, we get very excited about it. So that's what happened. So suddenly, next day, you know, I'm on a panel where other industry veterans are there and they've heard of Little Things. Up until the week before that, they hadn't heard of Little Things. So I think that really changed the conversation, and it put us kind of it made us a much more common topic of discussion in these circles. So I think that really helped us to be on Netflix. Barring that, look, they've been good partners for the show. They really love the show. It does well on their platform. They've committed very aggressively to the show on multiple seasons. We are, in fact, the only show to have a season four. We're in the process of doing season four right now. And you know, that kind of commitment from the platform is very valuable. So I think you know, we like working with Netflix. We're, you know, doing more things with them, and we'll also work with some of the other platforms. But you know, certainly there's always a soft spot for Netflix.
Uh, so just going to next question. Before that, I'll say I'm myself a fan of Little Things. I have like really liked it very much all the seasons, especially the last season.
I'm glad to hear that. Please stay tuned for the next one.
So now, just another thing, like since you work with Netflix, commissioned Little Things. So do you have like what's your plan on working with other OTT platforms? Like you have so many OTT platforms in India. So like, what's your plan there?
So we are open to working with every OTT platform. We have good relationships with all of them, and we're in conversation with them with most platforms for some shows or the other. There are a few things that have actually been signed, but I'm not at liberty to discuss. And there is a few others that are at conversational stage, either early or late stage of conversation. So you will see, you know, this year and next year that we will be doing more things with more platforms. I also think that, you know, we have been very picky and choosy about the kind of content we do, and we don't want to change that because we believe that it is sometimes better to create a mark for yourself in a place where nobody else is focusing on and everyone else is doing something else, right? So while everybody wants to make the next you know, gangster show or the crime show or their own kind of Breaking Bad, we are happy not to do that. I don't need to have a gangster show or a crime show because everyone else is doing that. So what am I going to bring to the table that is so different from the other people? I haven't figured that out yet. The day I'll figure that out is the day I'll do it. But there are genres that people are not paying enough attention to, right? We haven't had a good comedy come out of India in a while outside of the YouTube ecosystem. We haven't had, you know, nice, you know, romantic dramas or any other sorts of dramas that are not crime related. So, you know, I think that there's a lot of space for us to explore. And so we will create content in those spaces. And then we will find the right partners for those. Because right now, as I said, said earlier, I'm not sure all the OTT guys really know what they want. Everyone's over-indexing on something or the other, right? So it's either lots of crime or lots of kind of this intelligence, raw CBI type of stuff, or army type stuff. So once people figure out that they want to create a wide variety of content and they want to look at other genres, we'll work with them on those genres where we believe we can add something of value or bring some expertise to the table. But we're not in a hurry. Like this year, you'll see like a few shows that we do with platforms, but not going to go from 1 to 50 suddenly. It'll be gradual.
Okay. So just coming back to your another product. So you have learned so many things in lockdowns and so many things to talk about actually. So recently, you launched your Instagram like short platform, like collaborating with Tinder. So and you launched a series there also first, if I'm not
Yes.
wrong. So, how has been the consumption, overall consumption there, especially because like it came at a time when short form video format has suddenly boomed across India, and given the recent developments that a popular app, very popular app, can't run anymore in India, at least for now. So, how has it been working for you overall?
Yeah, look, we've been believers in the short form format for years now, right? We launched Filter Copy in 2015, and we knew that when people consume content on a mobile device, then short form is a very powerful format. Now that said, like our relationship with Tinder is also as old. We worked with them for the first time, I think, in 2016, and we've done a lot of stuff with them since. So this filter copy mini format that we created with them was another extension of that very long relationship, and it was great. The teams I know enjoyed working on it. It was also, we did a collaboration with an international YouTuber for the first time under lockdown too, with Jabby Quay. So having him play a part in some of the videos, like that was just, I think, just I have to say, I have to take a minute to say that, you said in the question just now that you guys have launched a lot of things under lockdown. I think it's incredibly amazing the kind of work that my team has done to be able to, we've launched we've scaled up our animation content on Jambo. We've launched a streaming service on Loco. We also launched another infotainment channel called Nutshell, which is scaled up content. And then we launched, web series on Dice like Firsts, and then these kind of filter copy mini type formats. So all of these things have been happening in the last 3 or 4 months because the teams have not taken the lockdown as some sort of a kind of time off or holiday or a slowdown. They've been, I think, from the week we went into lockdown, we went into work from home before the official lockdown started. We did it about 10 days in advance, and that those 10 days were critical. It gave us time to iron out all the problems before the government mandated lockdown happened. And our teams just transitioned smoothly. So our productivity has been extremely high. We've been churning out a lot of content, a lot of volume on filter copy. In fact, I don't think our volume has even gone down. We are doing um, 12 to 13 short videos, new short videos each month. And that was the case even before the lockdown. We are still, as a network across our channels, across Gobble and Filter Copy, and all the other channels, we're doing over 500 million views a month, which has increased from before the lockdown. So I think, you know, the reason we've been able to launch so much under lockdown, in fact, we released a travel show under lockdown on Gobble. If you think about that, when people are not allowed to travel, we put out Bazaar Travels, which became very popular. So to be able to do that, I think has been exciting, but it's also taken a lot of work. And so when you have a team that's dedicated and cares about the product, then I think a lot of companies with those kind of teams will keep doing well in these circumstances.
So like you also said, and we have seen that last 4 months were very active for you. You
Hmm.
launched so many new products, and you also churned out content regular. So like, how has been is it tough? Was it tough, or was it easier to communicate with like across the teams? And how did you manage?
So interestingly, look, it nothing is easy when you and no change is easy, right? Change always takes adapting and getting used to it. However, we were already a pretty efficient communication team. So we've been, for example, all of our team communication happens on Slack, and it's been the case since 2015 when we started. our, the way we operate, the processes we built, all use a variety of cloud computing tools, right? So whether it's Google Drive integrations, or like I said, Slack, or even video conference, right? Even before, we have teams in Delhi, Bombay, and Bangalore. So to communicate across teams, we were always using Google Meet and Zoom and those sorts of things. So um, the change has been to do it at such scale that every interaction will be this way versus just some interactions are this way. But there was no getting used to new technology or understanding a new process or any of that, because people have done these things before. So it was just about, can you do it from your living room with the kind of internet you have at home, with your kid crying in the background or your dog barking? That's been the, I'm still getting used to. So my dog is sitting right here while I'm talking to you. I'm still getting used to him barking in the middle of my VCs, in the middle of my calls, because that's a confusing experience because you're focusing on something and you hear a dog bark. But other than that, the actual logistics of it have not been very different for us.
Okay. So another thing, like, what's been the consumption surge across your channels, like individually, if you talk about dice, if you talk about filter copy. So how has been the consumption, and did you see any new demography, new group of audience coming in?
So on the established channels, right, Filter Copy and Gobble have a very regular content volume. There we've just seen the consumption go up because people under lockdown are watching more. And those two channels contribute a bulk of our views, right? So of the 500 plus million views we do each month, a large portion of it comes from those two channels. Dice is a little bit more sporadic because on Dice we have series, right? So whenever the series releases, that month or those months, the views will go up, and after that it'll slow down a little bit till the next series comes. So under lockdown, we were in the middle of releasing Operation MBBS when the lockdown happened. So the last couple of episodes of Operation MBBS happened after lockdown, and right after that, 1 month later, we did first season two. So both of those periods we saw a spike in Dice viewership, and then of course it slows down a little bit. We hope to have more series coming out starting August, September. So we will again see the spike happen there. The other two channels, which are Jambo and Nutshell, for Jambo, because it was a new channel, the spike was extremely high because we went from almost nothing to, I think we have across Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, we probably have some 70, 80,000 subscribers now. That's just been completely rapid. Um, and of course, Nutshell as well. In fact, Nutshell, I think you will see the spike starting now. We've got a team in place. They're extremely capable. They're focusing on a nice content strategy. And so the regularity and volume of content is increasing. So starting this month, I think we'll see kind of Nutshell numbers as well start to spike. So there's been, obviously, for the smaller channels, the spike is a bit more pronounced. And for the larger channels, which are already doing so many views, it's a little bit less pronounced. But the consumption has increased uniformly across.
Okay. So was your tech team ready to handle that pressure? Like, how was it for them? We are always talking about content, but this team is actually handling the sudden surge in the consumption. So how was it for them actually?
Yeah, look, so I'll talk about Loco separately from the content business. On the content business, there is no big change for us, right? Because we let YouTube and Facebook and Instagram do all the heavy lifting. On Loco, yes, I think we had to be prepared for an increase in content consumption. But the thing to note in Loco is that we launched the streaming product under lockdown. So already we were familiar with what to expect because we had seen some of these trends play out for a week. And because the tech team was very aggressively building the product at that time, we took into account all the situations we might find ourselves in. So I don't think we faced any particular scale challenges. But what we did find was on Jambo, because Jambo was the channel that found it easiest to create under lockdown, we decided to scale up Jambo output from 3 pieces of content a week to 20 pieces of content a week. That took a bit of learning because it was not easy to just suddenly scale. So there we worked with a combination of our internal team. We have a 9-member team, but also worked with some external animation companies to help us achieve that scale. So that took a little bit of back and forth and communication. But otherwise, I wouldn't say we faced too many challenges.
Okay, okay. So coming back to content part. right now we have diversity of strategy. Like it's not limited to one segment. So, how has it been
Mhm.
also for your target audience? Like, since when you started, the new demographics are coming in to watch online content. So, is youth still now your target audience, or has it moved beyond that? And if it's moved beyond that, what's your content? What is your content strategy for that?
This is actually a very good question as well. I think the answer is platform specific. So we find that, so on Instagram, for example, it is still predominantly youth, and so the content there is still meant to cater to the youth. Facebook, people who started using Facebook in their 20s are now in their 30s, right? People who used it in their 30s are now in their 40s. But also Facebook's large, fastest growing demographic is a slightly older one. It's at above 40 demographic. So that is certainly changing, and we are tailoring our content to match that. Um, YouTube, actually, the demo has not been age driven, but geographical. So more and more towns are getting access to the internet, and more people are accessing the internet for the first time. So it's bringing a lot more regional content and Hindi content consumers to the platform. So we've gone from being a very urban channel on. If you look at our videos from 2015 and 16, it was extremely urban. It was just targeted at Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore, maybe not even Chennai, Kolkata, Hyderabad, or anything. And over time, that kind of expanded, and now you find a large consumer base in the Hindi belt, in the North Belt. So that demographic has changed from a geographical and sensibilities perspective. There is a slight age, where before it was an 18 to 24, now you see a very high 25 to 34 number as well. But net, we tailor it depending on the demographic. On platforms, like when we do work with Netflix and all that, then the demographic is slightly older. And we take that into account. Some of the new shows we're developing are catering towards a slightly older demographic. So we'll expand beyond just very young audiences for sure.
Touching upon, we just spoke about language content also, and we know that language is like next big thing. Every big player is going into regional markets and at least trying to dub some original Hindi English content to regional content. So, like, what will be your strategy in regional market? Do you have anything in like in your future?
So we have always found that regional content could be quite a big market. Within regional content, though, however, I think Hindi is the biggest region, like the regional language. Hindi is the biggest language. And so 60% of regional content consumers are Hindi consumers. And so for us, that's the market we'll address directly. The rest of the markets, whether it's Marathi or Tamil or Telugu or Bengali or basically the big languages, um, we may not directly do it ourselves. We may work with partners in these regions and then create content there. So we're currently exploring doing some of our shows in other languages, right? So the most successful shows, can we do them in Marathi or Tamil, Telugu, Bengali, or something? And if we do that, then we'll work with those partners and create it with them. We won't do it directly. But for us, the focus is still Hindi, and both urban and kind of smaller town Hindi.
Okay. Uh, so another thing, like how is striking balance between everything, like pocket aces, dice, jumbo, loco, and how has the team expanded over time? Like it is like it has surely expanded. It's pretty obvious, but how are striking the balance and the teams are working together? Uh, Hi Ashwin.
For a second, but I think we're back, right? Can you hear me? Can you? Am I still audible?
Hello.
Hey,
Uh,
am I still audible?
yeah, I just lost you. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. No. So you asked, how do we find balance? Who says we find balance? I don't know. We just end up working more and more hours. I've been on calls the last few nights till like 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. and I know that Anirudh, my co-founder, has been doing the same thing, and I see Aditi because we obviously live together, so I see her also working crazy hours till 2 and 3 in the night. So I don't, but I'll tell you that the team has shouldered a lot of the heavy lifting of Loco or the animation team of Jambo. Those are the people, or especially my edit teams and cinematography teams, because when I direct, right? So my cinematography teams are talking to the actor, telling them how to position their phone, how to position the lights in their house. So these teams have shouldered the burden of execution and the burden of scaling overall. I think we're now about 220, 230 people maybe. And this time last year, we must have been maybe 120 or 130. So having grown the team has really helped us in this time, scale our output.
Okay. Like you have stayed creative in these 4 months. It seems from your outcome, like all the products you are churning out. So, how have kept up your productivity, and what will be your tips to the people who are like watching right now and want to know how to cope up with the stress we all are going through right now?
So on the productivity front, I mean, you, I feel like we're stuck at home. Like, there's just very few distractions now, so we're able to be more focused on our work. But I'm only half serious there. I think, look, I think there is such a thing as quarantine fatigue, right? I find myself already when I work and I'm changing context between 5 or 6 projects, that I forget something that I've done before. I forget what I've said to somebody before, and I have to remember that again. So I think we have to take care of ourselves, each of us, depending on what we need for ourselves, right? So for me, I know that if for many days I'm not sleeping enough, then I have to adjust that and find a day where I don't set an alarm. I sleep as much as I want. We at a company level, I think to keep productivity requires a concerted team effort. So for us, it happens at 3 levels. It happens at 4 levels actually. One is at the founder level. We came up with a bunch of things that would keep people, like, we worked very hard to ensure that we wouldn't have any layoffs or any salary cuts or anything of that sort. So we planned our finances at that level. Then at the HR level, we worked with the HR team, largely driven by their initiative, to come up with a variety of means to keep people very engaged and ensure that we have very, very regular temperature checks with them. So from doing company activities, frequent, like whether it's open mic night or talent night or any of those fun events, we do a lot of like bingo nights or whatever. To like consistently communicating the company stance, the company strategy, the company's position, consistently talking to different team members to get a sense of how they feel, to provide them counseling sessions and therapy, as well as training sessions through that period. So the HR team has kept a lot of the team members engaged. And then the third level would be the team lead level. Every single team leader in our company, and we have a damn good senior management team, every single team leader has worked on their team and their specific needs. So for a team, for example, like cinematographers, right, whose job is now just dramatically changed. I'm no longer holding a camera and shooting. I'm telling somebody what to do. So helping them ease to that transition is very different. For people who are physical production people who are used to going on sets and producing something, are now being told there is no set to go to. You have to sit and do planning. So their team leader has to then work with them to train them differently. So at a team leader level, the changes have been, or that constant kind of adjusting and adapting has been commendable. And then most importantly, at the individual level, right? I think individuals have realized that this is not a short-term thing. This isn't going to go away in 21 days like everybody initially hoped, or was naive enough to believe. So people know that this is long-term. This is likely to be the new normal. We have to get accustomed to this mechanism, even for the next 1 or 2 years, while offices may open up and we may go back. There is always a threat of having this lockdown happen again. So people have created systems for themselves, right? Whether that is finding times to block off for cooking and cleaning and doing housework, whether it's times to find going and exercising and working out, whether it's times to just watch TV or read books or do something else that they want to do. I think everyone's created their own routine and their own schedule to do that. And I think it's very important that we do that. I think it's, I find there are some days. Another initiative we did at company level is, because the same tasks are taking longer now, people are working in some cases more hours. So we decided, and you can tell somebody, hey, why don't you take a couple days off, right? But the problem is, when they're taking a couple of days off, they're still getting Slack messages and emails from everybody else who's working. So it only works if the entire company is off. So we've actually initiated a program for the last two months now, June and July so far, where each month we will declare one long weekend. So that Friday or Monday or something will be given off to the company. Not, we don't use up their leaves for it, just an additional leave, and the whole company is off. Of course, there's always one or two people that have exceptional work that's very specific timelines, but like you can assume 90+% of the company is off. So more than 200 people are off. So suddenly your Slack activity goes down, your email activity goes down, and people can use that to unwind and to kind of relax. I use it personally. Like we had this past weekend was a long weekend for us, and one full day I didn't do any work. I just stayed in front of the TV, just watched some stuff, things like that. And other days where I had work to do, I was able to balance that. So I don't think there's one simple solution. It's a combination of different things and a combination of different people who can implement and enforce that.
Nice. As a storyteller, obviously this phase I think is going to impact some of your narrations, some of your stories. So, how do you see affecting your future scripts or like future stories? And will there be any significant change after this?
I mean, it's too early to tell. I was obviously, like everyone else, I was tempted to consider doing some sort of a lockdown story and this and that. But and we do a lot of short videos on filter copy that are extremely funny and relatable about the lockdown. But I feel like on the long format side, I don't know if, you know, everyone's going to be wanting to tell these stories right after the lockdown. Everyone's going to have a lockdown story ready, a script ready. So I don't even know if I want to go into that space and kind of, try to, play the same game as everyone. I think there are so many still stories from the pre-lockdown world that are still as relevant, and we want to continue to tell those. So unless we find something that truly blows our socks off, or that gets us very excited, I don't think there's any active thought key. Let us find something around the lockdown. So that's the first part. The second part is, I do think that it will affect the grammar of our storytelling, because very cumbersome productions are going to be difficult, especially until we find a permanent solution like a vaccine or something for COVID. um, we are going to find people writing more controllable scripts where the sets can be controlled, or it can be shot in a manner that's a bit easier. Especially we're already thinking the way we write like romantic scenes, whether they are like intimate scenes, whether it's like close proximity of people. We have to rethink some of those, so the grammar there will change to a degree. But even that, I believe, is until we find some more permanent form of solution for the virus itself. So yeah, that's what I think.
Okay. So I'll ask a question. I think which is very cliche. Many people have asked you, who have spoken to you over the time. So what's been the major learnings of you staying in the ecosystem for this long time?
Uh, the first one is probably that everything is a version of something else. I think that uh, when I see the way the ecosystem is evolving, I find that it's taking a similar trajectory as the film business did, or as television did. So in a rush for quantity, I find a lot of people with authority to executive authority to greenlight content, whether as producers, as content creators, or as platforms, or as television channels. I feel like they're necessarily not focusing on high quality content. So there is we're recycling some of the same stories and all of that, right? So I think that the learning has been that that will always exist. There will always be one portion of the industry that focuses on kind of just recycling and regurgitating content. But if you have to create a space for yourself, then you have to differentiate. Either you do the same content in a different way, or you do different content, but you have to find your own unique voice. So that's a learning. The second is, you cannot over engineer these things, and you cannot kind of keep planning and prepping and preparing. Sometimes it's just better to do something and put it out there than sit and plan endlessly for years. I've also learned not to follow the herd, right? Like I said, there is a herd mentality typically. Everybody, when one show of a certain genre works, everybody wants to make that version. When something else works, everybody goes there. So I found that, you know, in the short term, yeah, it's exciting because, you know, it's like it helps you kind of monetize something or get a buyer for it. But in the long term, I don't know if that strategy is a good strategy because you know, it doesn't let you build your own voice or create your own unique personality. So those are probably the learnings. I do think that the other learning is that, you know, culturally we are not hardwired to understand data very well, as an ecosystem, as an industry, and even as a culture. We're a lot more emotional in our decision making, in our responses, in our reactions. Um, and it's taught me that the simple incremental innovation you can do is to be data driven. If you are open to, if you're intellectually flexible uh, to changing your mind based on new data or new information, that automatically is a huge advantage over most people, because most people are not open to that idea. So these are some of the things that I find that really help us stand out and do better than others. And barring that, it's just like, you know, one thing, it's very cliched. You said it's a cliched question, so I'm going to give you a cliched answer, which is that, you know, be nice to people. It is, you know, life is short. It's a small world. You don't lose anything by being nice to people and by treating them fairly and treating them well. So wherever we find ourselves in that position of where we have a tough decision, we always think, you know, what is the fair thing to do, what is the nice thing to do, and we try to do that. So those are, you know, those are some of the things that we've learned.
So one last thing I want to know, I think many people outside India will also like your content definitely, will relate to it and will love it. So what's your plan on international expansion? Like how do you want to attract that segment of consumer? Any plan yet?
I mean, I want 1.3 billion Indians to consume my content first. So we're still focusing on that. But you know, because of the nature of these platforms, they're all global platforms. Already, we find small pockets of audiences for us, right? So there's a large NRI audience in the US, in the Middle East, in the UK, that consumes our content. And when we work on like shows with Netflix and stuff, like little things, there we find, like I said, you know, in Turkey we found an audience. When we did season one, we found an audience in Colombia, we found an audience in Malaysia, and I'm not talking about Indians, I'm talking about local populations. So it's more, everything's more by accident, and there's no concerted effort to go find an international audience. And I don't think we will change that anytime soon. But we look, again, like much like regional language content, we look for partners. So if there is somebody in an international market that can partner with us and create some content based on our IPs, then we'll work with them on those sorts of endeavors.
Thank you, Ashwin, for taking out time. Like I know you are very busy this week, but still thank you for coming here, talking to us, and hope that we'll be able to interact in future, either in your office or some industry event very soon. So thank you, Ashwin.
I hope so too, Gagi. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure talking to you, and thanks for watching all of our content.
Bye. Stay safe.
You too. Take care, Gagi. Bye bye.
Take